Hi, Bruce. How are you?
Fine, thank you. How things going with you?
Really good. So, are you going to move to the States or are you just going to travel back and forth?
Where we live is so beautiful that it would be difficult. And I'm not saying the States isn't beautiful, um, but from my house we look at the Indian Ocean and we also see the Atlantic Ocean. So we're very blessed. So in a long-winded way, I'd like to sojourn over there for projects and then come back here to Africa and rest my soul before the next one.
Oh, that sounds wonderful to me. I
It's
agree.
kind of nice here.
I'm proud to be an American, but I do find other countries have a lot more, to offer sometimes in the terms of the view and the cultures and things like that. We're kind of a melting pot of all kinds of things. So, but it's still great to live
Yes.
here.
And America's quite fast-paced as well. And where I live in Cape Town, it's like a fairly slow life that everything happens in its own time. So kind of to to mix the two worlds together is actually the perfect place to be.
Well, I'm from Texas, so I'm from a little town in Texas, and our life was very slow paced growing up. And I live in Michigan now, near Detroit, and everything is so fast. My Sabbath, I don't answer the phone at all. Like I can't. I just have to turn off my whole life because it's really fast paced.
Well, thanks for taking the time to do this and help with the promotion of Samson as well. I really do appreciate that.
Well, I'm so glad that it's out available. I rented it on Amazon because I was going to buy the DVD, but I wanted to watch it before I talked to you. So I made sure to go ahead and at least rent it on Amazon so I could watch it.
Well, have you watched it?
Yes, I watched it this morning, actually.
Okay, and I hope you enjoyed it.
I did, and what a stellar cast! I was like Rutger Hauer, Lindsay Wagner, Jackson Rathbone, and Billy Zane. I mean, Billy Zane can pull off any villain type role, so he was perfect to be King. And Rutger Hauer, I didn't recognize at first. He's all that facial hair, but incredible
He is,
cast.
yeah, I mean, Rutger Hauer is an incredible actor. He really is, and he's a real character as well. I absolutely loved working with him. He has so much knowledge, and I mean, jokingly, he said to me, he thinks he's been killed more than any other actor on screen ever before.
Uh, well, I believe that. He's been in a lot of movies. And Billy Zane. I was trying to explain to my son who he was, and my son is only 24, so he doesn't know all the other things he's done. But I said, you remember Titanic? I said, he's the mean fiance. He's always the mean guy, almost. He does have some roles where he's not the mean guy, but not many. He does it well. And Jackson Rathbone, I was a fan of his. My girls got into Twilight, and so I watched him in that. But he's an incredible musician. I think his acting was much better in Samson than in Twilight. I mean, he can do that like very mean look, and very. I mean, he can pull it off, and I knew he could. I was glad to see that he was in that because he's incredible. And the guy that plays Samson, I mean, honestly, he looked like you didn't even need sound effects. I would have believed every punch was real. He is enormous. Like he's like The Rock or something. He's so, and I mean, he was perfect for the role.
He is the most amazing guy. Taylor James, in the final casting when I gave him the role, he said to me, Bruce, I'm going to give you 1,000% of me, and he did. He gave 1,000%, and just before we would shoot the big scene where he had his shirt off, he would fast for 2 days before the scene, so that his body took off all the body fat, and he had that lean, extremely strong looking body. He didn't. I mean, I wouldn't mind having his fat side of his body, but it was incredible, and he is so committed to being Samson and portraying him correctly. Yeah, he was a real find, I have to say.
Yeah, he had kind of the combination of someone very endearing, and the playfulness with his brother, but yet as soon as he meant business, he had that look, and he looked up when it was time to, you know, pull on God's strength and, kill some kill some guys. I thought the movie was incredible. I was so excited because I love The Perfect Wave. I still love it. It's on my entertainment center because Rachel was kind enough to come up here for like a little red carpet here in Michigan, and so she signed my Perfect Wave DVD. So I was pretty happy. But that was so beautifully shot, and so I was excited to see that you were doing Samson, and such a great story. Why Samson? I mean, there's so many obviously incredible projects you can choose from. What drove you to Samson in the beginning?
Funny enough, it's not my script, or it wasn't my idea. Pureflix developed the screenplay, and they were looking for producers and a director to put it together. And the head producer there, Brittany Yost, we met at the Kingdomwood Film Festival where we had won Best Film, and we connected and we made friends, and we told all about South Africa and what could be here, and pushed us on the script. And when I read the script, I thought, wow, I want to direct this. What an amazing story that we all know. And one of the bedtime prayers that I said for my 9-year-old for the last sort of 7 years of his life was, I pray the strength of Samson, the wisdom of Solomon, and the warrior spirit of David upon his life. So it was almost like the character of Samson's been in our bedtime prayers almost every night for 9 years. So when we got the script, I kind of knew I was going to have a pretty good shot at it, and I pitched against several other directors, and God has a plan for your life, and He opened the doors and He created the opportunity, and I was lucky to be the final director that directed the film.
So where is Samson shot? I'm very curious.
Samson was shot in Stellenbosch in Cape Town.
Wow.
And it was an amazing proposition for us, because a big production called Kings and Prophets, which was done by Disney and ABC, was shot here, and they built some amazing sets, and I knew about the sets prior to Samson coming about, and I knew that we could, with relative ease and some great execution, convert the structures that they had created to suit the story of Samson. So, it was a tight budget. It was a $6 million film, and you need to compete against films like Gladiator and other big epics that have $100 million. For instance, and audiences don't look at films and say, "Oh, that was made for 1 and that was made for 5." They just look at the picture. So we needed to be very, very smart with the production finance that was available, and
it's something that people don't realize how much these films cost. It's not just cast. I mean, you have some pretty amazing cast that I'm sure salary alone was a part of your budget, but it takes so much to put a movie together, and a faith film struggles to get noticed, as it is. So I think it was great. I love the artwork for, the DVD, for the, all the different promotions. It's been it looks so appealing just from, your artwork that you did. It was amazing.
No, thank you. It was a real process. And I think that filmmaking with less money is more demanding than a film which has surplus money where you can fix things easily. So, a lot more planning has to go into it. And I kind of had to go into the shoot knowing exactly how I was going to do certain things. And I mean, collapsing a temple, for instance, is no small feat.
Right.
You have so many elements attached to it. There was health and safety issues where you've got a pillar landing on a guy and you can't kill the guy for real, but it's got to look like it's really fallen on him. And once you've done it once, you may need to repeat it. So we needed to build things in such a way that actions were repeatable, and also, bearing in mind that it had to look real. So there were lots of challenges. And so for me as a director, I spend most of my time in pre-production and planning, so as hopefully to execute it as quickly and simply as possible on set, which we managed to achieve in some of the big scenes.
I'm curious with, some of these amazing actors working together on a somewhat serious film. I mean, because you have people enslaved and you have, the prophecy of Samson and him rising up. I mean, it's kind of a serious film with very slight moments of, the lightness of romance or of, laughter, but mainly it's pretty serious film. I'm curious if your main actors, were they like making fun on set? Were they having a good time, or what was it like for everybody on set?
I think that you've got to set a tone that a set is a happy place to be. So, my philosophy is to try and make it fun and enjoyable. But, it was like stepping back in time. For instance, any scene that we shot, if the actor, you just say it's a daytime scene and you're shooting from 7 to 7, because our work hours are 12 hours here in South Africa. And we also had to obey the SAG ruling as well. So it was very, very tight. And basically what an actor would have to do is he'd have to come in at 4 a.m. in the morning to get his beard put on and his wardrobe and all his things. So he had actually been on set perhaps sometimes 3 hours before call time to prep. But what happened was basically as they became their character, they put their beard on, they put this amazing wardrobe on, and then they walked onto set. And they're walking back in time because everything was set back in, thousands of years before Christ. So it did kind of set a tone that you weren't in a real world when you were on set. So the actors did suddenly become their characters when they walked on set. But at the end of the day, when they put their normal clothes on, they became their normal selves and joked around. But on the set, there was just so much happening and so many demands upon each and every person that it was like you were in the real world. Each person took on their character and they played with their lines, and we rehearsed, and it was a working set. It was hard work.
I would imagine it is, because it is such a beautiful visual movie, and the story, I don't think, I mean, it has been told, but it hasn't been told a lot. So I think it's just one of those beautiful stories in the Bible for people to see it on the screen and to be reminded of the strength that comes from God, that, that we can call upon it like Samson did. It may not be to, fight some Philistines, but, if the strength to get through adversity and things like that. Do you find yourself on a different spiritual journey when doing a movie like this?
I think that there's a learning curve that you have when you're trying to depict something. So quite often you live some of the attributes of the film in your personal capacity, or you're seeing it happening around you. So yeah, I mean, there are big elements in this film. Most people can relate to society or their parents or their situation creating an expectation in their life that they need to fulfill. And, Samson had an expectation placed upon his life to free his people, and it was a mantle that he didn't really want at the time. and he wanted to walk away from the expectation and live a normal life. And I think that's very relatable in today's times. And I think a lot of people on set related to that aspect of the script and the story of Samson. And, you know, then how in his final moment of need, you know, when he says, "Let me die with the Philistines," and he gets up and God re-grants him his powers to redefine who Samson was and forgive him for walking away from his mantle. I think that's quite a strong message and is very relevant in today's society.
I can imagine that, like, if I were to walk on that set, it would feel like I would feel like I was walking through the Bible. So, you know what I mean? It just, I would think that would be really fantastic to watch it, especially when you've called action, everyone is, you know, in character. It's got to have moments where you're just kind of in awe of what God can put together. I love the lion scene. That one, I was like really impressed on how, I know how hard it is to put those things together and for it to look real, and it looked real. I really believed, I mean, obviously the lion was real at some point, but it looked real the entire time. I thought that was amazing.
It was incredibly hard to do. And the lion that we used was pretty wild. The trainer told us a story that he got a sickness and had to leave his lion for over 10 days, and came back and went into the cage with his lion, and everything was fine until he wanted to leave, and then the lion blocked his path and didn't allow him out of the cage, and eventually mauled the trainer. And this is a trained lion. So, you know, it's the animals, they're unpredictable, and the trainer that we used was an absolutely incredible guy who pulled off absolute magic. But at the same time, when you the real actor with a real wild animal, it is very, very scary. And so we tried to shoot it in a way that we combined them when we could, but we had to be very, very careful of the lion actually mauling either our crew or the lead cast. And so we put the camera in a cage, and there's a little hole for the lens. And I promise you, a lion can move so fast, you can't believe it. It can cover its first 20 meters is so scary. And I mean, when they're raw, their roar actually goes right through your body. You can feel the vibration of that animal. Wow. It was something. It was quite an experience.
It's all kind of still a reminder of the amazing strength of God, and even in His creatures. You know, just watching lions are just. I mean, I wonder if you have a lot. Do you have like live animals like get on your set every once in a while when you're filming on location like that?
We've had lots of animals on various shoots, but I've never worked with a lion, and a lion, let me tell you, has serious presence. And we basically made we got the real lion, and we put 24 cameras around its head, and we gave the real lion a haircut, and we made a prosthetic lion's head that we put a man inside for close-ups where he's wrestling with the lion.
Right.
And then in post-production, we added the saliva on the tongue and the little watery bit in the eyes. But it just took an immense amount of planning. But we used a real lion to charge him and to jump. And, you know, those were all things that you had to combine and plan quite carefully so that when you cut the whole thing together, it looks absolutely seamless. And I think the fact that we used the real hair from the real lion and the prosthetics line, and we had photographed the real lion with 24 cameras all around its head, so every single detail was the same. So if you literally put the prosthetic lion and the real lion next to each other in a still frame, I don't think you would have been able to tell the difference which one was real and which one was not till the movement took place.
Wow, that is so fantastic. It was such a great film, and I already expected it after The Perfect Wave. I expected it to be carried out very well. I'm excited to know if you're already involved, and probably are, in new projects coming up.
I am, and I'm busy working on it at the moment. It's in the final stages of development, but it's called The Shaper, and I'm hoping to partner with who I think is an amazing American producer and director to come aboard with us as well as one of the producers, and she's agreed. So it's, God shapes lives, but surfboard shapers shape boards, and it's a story about a young girl who loses her father and how her life gets shaped. And I think it's going to be quite a special film.
And does that come out this year, or will it be next year?
We will hopefully raise all the finance this year and start making it early next year. So the journey of raising money for film is not easy, especially when you live in South Africa. But
Right.
I think this film is going to be absolutely superb, and I'm very passionate about it, and I feel it's got a place in the world right now. It's very relevant. The role of fathers is being undermined, and the role of a father in children's lives is absolutely massive, and I think this film would play a big role in asking fathers to step up to the plate and to perform their role as a father and a mentor in their children's lives.
Yeah, I think if the family unit were to be back in line how God, designed it, our the entire world would change. It would just shift. It would be, even if half of the people were to just commit themselves to the family unit the way God intended. There is great responsibility and everything on the father, because he's the buck stops with him. He's responsible for taking care of his family, for working for the family, for looking out for them, and guiding them towards God. And it's a really tough job, and a lot of people who lose their fathers. My father walked away when I was 9, and it's like your compass breaks. It's, although I had a faithful, godly mom, thankfully, that raised me. I felt like I was always a slight bit wobbly. Like there was always that presence that wasn't there, that I had to work a little harder to keep my balance.
Absolutely, and I think that's where media can play such a big role, is to encourage people to be who they're meant to be. And we've written this in a way that I think is going to challenge people, but in an entertaining way as opposed to a kind of a preachy way. So I'm very excited to make this. And I'm a father of 5 children, so I know what I'm meant to do and how I'm meant to do it. And I'm still learning every day, but I think that The Shaper is going to be an amazing project to put on screen.
I thought The Perfect Wave really had that way about it. You were saying about not being preachy. It was more just telling a story, and you were kind of along for the ride, until the very end. Obviously, it became very about spiritual things, but up until then, you're kind of following a story and just going along with the story. But it's such a beautiful movie, and so for anyone who hasn't seen The Perfect Wave, you got to see it. And Samson is out. It's out on DVD as well now, right?
Yeah, it's out on DVD. It's just released theatrically, funny enough, in South Africa, and it did well here in South Africa as well. So it's a global film, and I think that the thing about the Samson movie is it's got great longevity. It's a film that can last for many, many years, because people aren't going to get bored of it. And I think that the way we've made it, its shelf life is long. So it's a film that's worth buying and putting in your library, and it's something that could last for a very, very long time.
And it's timeless. I think many generations can relate to the different characters, and it's a film that you can buy and you'll watch it again, because the story is never going to get old. The story itself, being inspired by God, it's a very like I said, it's timeless, and it's like going back in that time and reminding yourself. You know, what it made me want to do is go back to the Bible and read the story again. Like, now watching the movie, like that's exactly what I wanted to do immediately after is to go back and read. And I hope that's what some people do, that maybe if they don't know the Father, that it inspires them to want to know more about the God of Samson.
Absolutely. It's amazing that you say that. A large proportion of people who watched the movie said they then went back and read the book of Judges. And it's such a teeny weeny bit of scripture. It's only 3 chapters. And I think the writers did a good job fleshing it out. And our production designers and our research team helped me keep the film authentic. In feel, it would be very easy to take a wardrobe to the theater kind of look and feel. But I felt that God wanted to make a piece that was authentic to the times and authentic to how it was. And, that's what I was to keep the authenticity. It was very hard, but I think we did fairly well in how we orchestrated that.
Well, I'm so grateful to you for taking the time for the interview, and thankful that you made this movie. It was amazing. It was beautifully shot, and of course, the story itself is such a strong thing, literally and figuratively. It is such a strong story of the Bible, and you're right. It's not a huge in amount of words in the Bible, but it has such an incredible impact. And people, they talk about, I love it. Your phrasing that, I saw it on your Skype bio. It's the strength of Samson, the wisdom of Solomon, and the courage of David. Is that what you said? Yeah, is that what?
Yeah, the courage of David. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
My children. That's my prayer for the children. I'm a big fan of yours, and I've thoroughly enjoyed our encounters. And it's nice to know that there are amazing people like you out there who care and that want to share about films like these. And I encourage you to keep doing it, because the world can change through one person. And I think what you're doing and the job that you're doing is great for filmmakers and great for media. And be encouraged at what you're doing.
Well, thank you. And we're actually gonna get a handful of them so that we can do a giveaway to put with the interview, because I really want to encourage people to tell. Word of mouth makes such a difference, and when we do giveaways, people get more curious about the movie, and hopefully the people who see the movie will be encouraged to share that with others. So and it's so cool to speak with you. I think you're an incredible director. I know you're early in your directing stages, but you do such an amazing job. I can't imagine what, like, every project's going to be better, I know. So I'm excited for your next movie, The Shaper. I'm looking forward to that, and I'm here if there's anything that we can do here on this end to help you with that film. Always reach out to me, and I'll do what I can to help.
Thank you so much, and have an absolutely stunning day.